In this video, we're going to learn about composite functions. And composite functions are just when the output of one function is used as the input of another. And I'll show you guys what that means by using example 1. So for example 1, we have f of x is equal to 2x minus 1, and we have g of x is equal to x squared plus 3. And we want to find f of g, so that's what this means. This is the same as f of g of x. That open circle looks like a multiplication sign, but it is not a multiplication sign. It means f of g of x. So I'm going to show you guys how we can find that. So what I'm going to start by doing is rewriting my f function. So I have f of x is equal to 2 times x minus 1. And now I want to find f of g of x. Well, I know g of x is equal to x squared plus 3, so I need to plug that in for the x in my f of x function. So I'm going to have 2, and then instead of 2x, I'm going to use my g of x function, so 2 times x squared plus 3, and I always want to put the function in parentheses, minus 1, and now we just want to simplify the right side of our equation. So we have f of g of x is equal to, I'm going to distribute this 2 out, I get 2x squared plus 6 minus 1. And finally, I just want to simplify the 6 minus 1. And 6 minus 1 is 5, so I get 2x squared plus 5. So I get that f of g of x is equal to 2x squared plus 5. Now if we take a look at example 2, we have the same two functions. We have f of x equals 2x minus 1, and g of x equals x squared plus 3. But this time, we want to find g of f, which again is the same as g of f of x. So down here, I'm going to rewrite our g of x function. So we have g of x is equal to x squared plus 3. And now I want to find g of f of x. So what I want to do this time is take my expression for f of x, and I want to plug that in for x in my g of x function. So instead of x squared, I'm going to have my expression for f of x, so 2x minus 1, again I always want it in parentheses, that entire thing squared, plus 3, and now I need to simplify the right side of my equation. So on the left side I'll keep g of f of x, this is equal to, and now remember, 2x minus 1 squared is not the same as 2x squared minus 1 squared. We have to rewrite this out as 2x minus 1 times itself. And then we're going to have to FOIL. So now we want to FOIL the 2x minus 1 times the 2x minus 1. So we're going to multiply 2x by 2x to get 4x squared. We'll multiply 2x by negative 1 to get a negative 2x. Multiply negative 1 by 2x to get a negative 2x. Multiply negative 1 by negative 1 to get a positive 1. And then we still have this plus 3. And finally, we just want to combine like terms on the right side of our equation. So we can't combine 4x squared with anything, so we keep it as it is. We can combine negative 2x and negative 2x to get a negative 4x. And we can combine a positive 1 and a positive 3 to get a positive 4. So we get that g of f of x is equal to 4x squared minus 4x plus 4. And what's important to note is that f of g of x and g of f of x are not necessarily the same. Sometimes they will come out as the same thing, but you can't just interchange them. They're not interchangeable. So let's go through some more examples to make sure that we've got this down. So in example 3, we have the functions f of x equals 4 minus x to the 4th, and g of x equals negative 2x. And first we want to find f of g, which is the same as f of g of x, written like this. So I'm going to start by rewriting my f of x function. So f of x is equal to 4 minus x to the 4th. And now I want to find f of g of x. And I know that g of x is equal to negative 2x. So what I want to do is replace the x in my f of x function with my g of x function. So I'm going to have 4 minus, in parentheses, my g of x function of negative 2x, that entire thing raised to the 4th, and now I just want to simplify. So f of g of x is equal to 4 minus, now we have to raise negative 2x to the fourth. So negative 2 raised to the fourth power is going to give us a positive 16, and I'm going to keep it in parentheses because it's being subtracted. X to the fourth is just x to the fourth. And now I just want to rewrite it without the parentheses. So I'm going to have 4 minus 16x to the fourth. So we get that f of g of x is equal to 4 minus 16x to the fourth. And I want to mention, a lot of students think these two negatives cancel out here. But remember, PEMDAS says we have to raise this negative 2x to the fourth before we deal with that negative on the outside. And once we raise that negative 2x to the fourth, it turns out as a positive expression. So then we still have that minus on the outside. So now if we take a look at example 4, we have the same functions, but we want to find g of f, or g of f of x, written like this. So I'm going to start by rewriting my g of x function. So g of x is equal to negative 2 times x. And now I want to find g of f of x. And I know that f of x is equal to 4 minus x to the fourth. So I want to take that and I want to plug it in for x in my g of x equation. So I'm going to have negative 2, and then in parentheses, I want to multiply it by my f of x, which is 4 minus x to the fourth. And now I'm just going to simplify the right side. So on the left side, we have g of f of x. And on the right, I'm just going to distribute this negative 2 in. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 2 times negative x to the fourth is a positive 2x to the fourth. So I get that g of f of x is equal to negative 8 plus 2x to the fourth. Let's go through 2 more examples just to make sure that we've got it down. So for these last 2 examples, I encourage you guys to pause the video and try them on your own, and then you can watch me work through them to make sure that you solved them correctly. So for example 5, we have f of x equals negative 4x plus 5, and g of x equals 3x squared minus 2x, and we want to find f of g of x. So I'm going to start by rewriting f of x. So I know that f of x is equal to negative 4 times x plus 5. And now I want to find f of g of x. So I know that g of x is equal to 3x squared minus 2x. I need to plug that in for x in my f of x equation. So I'm going to have negative 4, and then in parentheses I'm going to put my expression for g of x, 3x squared minus 2x. I'm going to have plus 5 at the end. And now I just need to simplify the right side of my equation. So I want to distribute this negative 4 in. So negative 4 times 3x squared is negative 12x squared. Negative 4 times a negative 2x is going to give me a positive 8x. And then I have plus 5. And there's no like terms, so this is my answer. If we take a look at our last example, we have the same 2 functions, but this time we want to find g of f of x. So I'm going to start by rewriting my g of x function. So g of x is equal to 3 times x squared minus 2 times x. This time I have 2 x's in my g of x function, but we're still going to solve it the same way. So I want to find g of f of x. And I know that f of x is equal to negative 4x plus 5. So I need to replace both x's in my g of x function with my f of x function of negative 4x plus 5. So I'm going to have 3, and then in parentheses, instead of having x, I'm going to plug in my f of x function of negative 4x plus 5. That entire thing is squared. Then I have minus 2, and again there's another x, so I need to replace it with my f of x function of negative 4x plus 5. And now I'm going to need to simplify the right side of my equation. So I have g of f of x equals 3, and remember the quantity of negative 4x plus 5 squared has to be written as negative 4x plus 5 times itself. And now I'm going to distribute this negative 2 in. So negative 2 times negative 4x is a plus 8x. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And now I'm going to need to FOIL out the right side of my equation. So I'm going to keep the 3 on the outside. Negative 4x times negative 4x is going to give me a positive 16x squared. Negative 4x times positive 5 is going to give me a negative 20x. Positive 5 times negative 4x gives me another negative 20x. And positive 5 times positive 5 gives me a positive 25. And I still have this plus 8x minus 10. And now I need to combine like terms within those parentheses on the right side of my equation. So the 3 stays the same. We have 16x squared. We can combine negative 20x and negative 20x to get a negative 40x plus 25 plus 8x minus 10. We're going to have to distribute out this 3 on the right side of our equation. 3 times 16x squared is 48x squared. 3 times negative 40x is negative 120x. 3 times 25 is going to give us a positive 75. We have plus 8x. We have minus 10. And we have one more step. Now we have to combine like terms. We can't combine 48x squared with anything, so it stays as it is. We can combine negative 120x and positive 8x to get negative 112x. And we can combine 75 and negative 10 to get a positive 65. So that one was a bit longer, but we did it, and we got that g of f of x is equal to 48x squared minus 112x plus 65. So hopefully that video helped you guys learn how to solve composite functions. You just have to remember to plug one function expression in for x in the other function, and then you're going to simplify.